And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the African American Athlete. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with my friend and frat brother Michael Roberson, coming to you on a Wednesday evening. Mike, it's great to see you, man. We are being joined by a special.
My location has changed because remember I was in Chicago last show.
Oh yeah, you probably. I'm glad you know where you are this morning.
Yes.
You lost some miles last
Oh
week
yeah.
watching your alma mater do their thing
Yeah.
at Notre Dame. The game didn't turn out too well, but TSU won the halftime show.
Right.
I can guarantee you that. We're joined tonight by our friend and one of the legends of Black college athletics and the author of this great book, The Forgotten QBs, Earl Kitchens, and also Earl has the BIP Awards that you can. We'll talk, of course, we'll talk about that. That you could go to quarterfireback.com and check out more information. And speaking of the BIP Awards, a former BIP Award winner is off to a pretty good start out in Colorado. And we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback at Colorado, where his pop, Deion Sanders, is there in his first year after leaving Jackson State. And Earl, I'll start with you. Deion's impact on college football has really been extraordinary. What he's done. Who thought about Colorado football until 2 weeks ago when Deion took the team out there?
And I'm actually in the conference. I cover the conference. So
You don't even think about it.
Well, Deion has always been an extraordinary personality in his own right. I call him a marketing guru. He is, if he knows how to market something or get the most out of something or can put a spin on it, then he's done that. If he continues to trend like he's doing, he's going to be one of the most phenomenal sports stories that has happened in this decade. I don't know about this century, but in this decade at least. So it's going to be interesting to see. He's got a lot of football left to play in that Pac-12. But right now, he's got those fans out there in the mountains of Colorado so excited, man. They standing in line 20 deep, 1 mile long, and they can't wait for the next game. So it's a good thing. It's good for the sport. It's good for the team. And they needed a pick-me-up. We haven't seen anything like Colorado football like that since the days of Slash.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
good point.
And you talk about Deion being Deion and the flash and the flair he brings. But Mike, his teams are playing solid football. Colorado has been a well-coached team in both their wins over TCU, and which was a big upset, and knocking off rival Nebraska to get off to a little slow start. But as soon as they got going, it was over.
Right. And the thing about it is, you get these guys, he and Hunter, or, people are talking about now Heisman Trophy candidates. Before they were, they're relegated over to those black colleges. That's no real competition. Just like how McNair had to go through. McNair had extraordinary stats at Alcorn, and then they were like, that's low budget. He wasn't playing against anybody. That's not going to translate to the NFL. So he ended up getting an MVP and was a couple yards away from maybe winning the Super Bowl. Right. Yeah. So to see these guys make that transition like that, and like we were saying about Earl's awards, is that for Shedeur to go from Player of the Year, basically in the black college realm, and then go up to what everyone considers the epitome of college football and become the Heisman Trophy winner, which usually is relegated to the best player in the country, would be phenomenal. And to have Coach Prime, as he likes to be called, to have Coach Prime resurrect this team. I mean, like we said, they haven't really been relevant since the days of Slash. And a lot of people forget that Colorado, during the times when you would have multiple champions, snuck up and got a national championship.
Yeah, they did. They did. They did.
So they've had some moments. And remember, since they've moved to the Big Ten, to the Pac-12, they've been just, below mediocre, and they've been bad. And the team that they just played, Nebraska, hasn't been really the same since they moved to the Big Ten. So both of these teams had history of being national champions. And for them to beat them now, some people might say, well, what's wrong with these two teams? I mean, look how they downed TCU. These guys were the national champion runner-up, but because Deion beat them, this team is they showed that they weren't for real since they got blown out in the national championship game. And this really wasn't a real big win. It was more that TCU didn't really understand what to do. And then when Nebraska loses, then it's like, look at all the mistakes they made. They don't want to give Coach Prime credit. Well, Shador got 900 yards of offense. So he's basically averaging 450 yards per game and about 3 touchdowns. I mean, that right there, if that continues, just like when I predicted with Caleb last year with the USC, I said, you keep this up multiple games, you got to be the Heisman Trophy winner.
And Earl, you have been saying this, and again, the book, the Forgotten Quarterbacks, it's got to be gratifying for you to see the influx of black quarterbacks at the highest level in the National Football League. Opening day last weekend had 16 black quarterbacks starting in the National Football League. And Earl, you believe there are even more on the way?
They're definitely more on the way, because when I have an opportunity to look at quarterbacks from the high school ranks, and already after just 3 games this season, there are 2 quarterbacks, based on what I've been able to research, have already thrown for 1,000 yards. After only 3 games in the season, these guys have already, put 1,000 yards up. So a lot of the quarterbacks who are coming along are going to be good. I think it's interesting that a guy like a Quincy Carter has his own quarterback school, and found out today in talking to Chris Leak that Chris Leak is working his own quarterback school. So these guys are working to groom, and I don't think it's just them grooming black quarterbacks. I think they work with any kid that wants to play that position. But if a kid wants to step his game up and become productive, and he can get some of the help that maybe other guys did not get in their rising to these levels, then so be it. But there are a lot of them on the rise, and there will continue to be a lot of them on the rise, because Mike and Ricky, winning has no color.
Right.
Winning has no color. So if a coach has got a guy who can throw it, or it's a dual threat, and it's going to help them win and put them on top of the mountain, i.e. Deion has his son who has put them on top of the mountain. And I'm glad to see that this young man is showing the world that he is just not a black quarterback from a black college that was good. He's just a good quarterback.
Right.
And if he's got the GOAT, as some may see it, from the NFL helping to teach him, if Tom Brady can impart some knowledge and wisdom on him so he can become a better quarterback, so that his position in becoming a first-round draft choice is better, then so be it. But I think one of the things that you mentioned, Mike, when you talked about the situation at Colorado, and I'm not sure this has ever happened. When has a school ever had 2 guys that they could possibly promote for the Heisman Trophy? When has that ever happened?
Right. Maybe USC with their running backs, maybe Charles White and Marcus Allen, they were there at the same time.
Maybe.
Thurman Thomas, Barry Sanders were kind of cross paths, but
not really. But a quarterback and a defensive back?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, because as impressive as Shador has been. And the thing about what I love about him, he is so calm and collected back there, and
Very much.
he's so accurate throwing the football. As impressive as this cat has been, he threw for 500 yards first week, and don't forget he had a couple of bombs dropped.
Yeah, it could have been 600.
Yeah. Hunter has been even more impressive in my eyes because he's catching everything. He did
both sides of the field.
Yeah, he's making
both
plays.
sides. Yeah.
He's shutting people down on D and making plays on offense. It is truly extraordinary. And everybody's talking about, well, he's playing 100 plays or whatever. Dude, he don't have to go all out on every play from the wide receiver position. He'll know when to turn it on.
Hey, Ricky, you know when he's resting in a football game on the field?
Right.
When he's on defense, because nobody's going to throw his way. It's like, no, don't throw that way. Don't throw over there. So, they'll run him off the field, but I mean, he's not having to do, because they're not going to throw his way, because it's like, dude, this dude will pick it. I told a friend of mine today, I can't wait to see his first pick six. Is he going to high step?
Yeah.
That interception that he made against TCU.
Oh my God!
Yes.
I'm an extraordinary play, but I do want to jump back on the quarterback. And Earl, this is first of all, this is just a wonderful conversation because you guys are hitting on some important issues. When you talk about winning has no color, I'm thinking about the injury to Aaron Rodgers the other night, and man, you hate to see anybody. Look, I'm in Detroit. So never been an Aaron Rodgers fan. He's playing in Green Bay. But, man, I don't want to see that guy go. I don't want to see anybody go out with an injury that in that sport. But, man, and now the Jets are left with Zach Wilson, second-year quarterback who struggled his rookie year. They got the win the other night, but that was really the defense and special teams. The Jets are looking for quarterback. I think it would be malpractice for that general manager not to look at Colin Kaepernick, just to kick the tires on him. You may look at him and not want him, but you need a quarterback. And I know he hadn't played, but he has a track record. I think you got to at least look at what he's doing.
Well, he can't be any worse.
Right.
He can't be any worse than anybody you're scrambling to bring on now, since everybody's rosters are set. But I'm sure there are a couple of guys out there, but he can't be any worse. I mean,
they've done this before. I think they went and got some guy was coaching high school football and gave him $10 million or something.
Hey, Ricky, he wasn't working in the grocery store,
right?
Yeah, right. Who was that guy? He went on to become a Hall of Famer.
That's right.
Oh yeah,
the guy with the Rams.
Yep.
He
Rams
was
and the
working
Cardinals.
in a grocery store in Iowa.
Yeah.
Right.
When they found him.
But here's the thing, though. Let's say Kaepernick does come in, and he takes over with Aaron with the Jets with this great defense, and let's say they get to the Super Bowl and he wins this time. Guess how much egg the NFL have on their faces? They would be like, this is a great story, but guess what? This makes us look terrible because we shut this guy out all this time with little catchphrases that he really wasn't that good. That's why San Francisco let him go. He really wasn't that good. And all the other people, naysayers, said, well, he's not in the league, not because the NFL is being racist or the NFL is being anti-protest, but that he really wasn't that good. So if he does that, how is the NFL going to be able to explain that? And how would they – what will happen with their fan base that was backing them, saying that keep this guy out of the league, he's anti-American, he's anti-flag, he's anti-military. So, I mean, that would be a great story to see, but I don't think the NFL would want to see that scenario happen.
If he came back and led the Jets to an NFL title, he'd be the king of New York.
Yes.
And the New Yorkers wouldn't give a damn about what the rest of the NFL said. But he's been away a while, man. He hadn't played
Yeah.
2016. That is a long time. He's been working out. You know, every year we see where he's working out. He had a really impressive workout, I think, about a year ago. That he looked good, and some team that was it the Raiders maybe, or somebody had thought about maybe signing him. So we'll never know there, and it's really a travesty that this guy didn't get a chance to show his wares after he made his stance, and all we got to do is look at the NBA and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who we had the pleasure of interviewing on our show, was blackballed for his stand. Well, now I'm not going to use the word blackball because that was a white balling.
That's white balling, yes.
Of Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. So, you know, that is going to be interesting to follow. But back to the original thing, the influx of the black quarterback is here to stay. And Earl, it's so good to know there's so many other kids coming down the pipe.
I got one
Rickey
question.
And Mike, let me just share this with you real quick.
Go ahead.
Because I'm not really sure if this is real or not, but in looking at something that came across on Twitter today, and I didn't get a chance to really verify it, but it showed a cover of Sports Illustrated with the quarterback from Carrollton High on the cover. So I don't know if somebody made this up or not. Now, if this is a legitimate cover for Sports Illustrated, let me just tell you who Julian Lewis is. Julian Lewis is from Carrollton High School in Carrollton, Georgia. Yeah. Julian Lewis finished second in the Bilt Memorial Trophy running last year for high schools. In the 9th grade, he threw for 4,100 yards. So if this is a legitimate cover and they have put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated, this is huge.
Yeah.
He's just in the 10th grade.
Yeah. And this is, he is on the cover of, I believe, one of their, I'm looking at it now. This is
like one of their regional magazines.
Wow.
I mean, as a sophomore, that's still awesome. If it's regional or not.
This is, I think, is one of the, actually, this could be a regular Sports Illustrated cover. I see it. It's called Money Issue. The next big thing, the QB prodigy just committed to USC as a team. Here's why Julian Lewis is playing the long game with NIL opportunities too. No, this is going to be on the cover of. This is the October edition of SI.
That my friends, is huge because you're talking about a kid who's like 15 years old.
Yeah,
I'm going to see if I can download this and get this up before we get off the air. I'm going to work on that.
Well, but but for a pump the brake situation for the NFL, now let's look at what's going on though. A lot of those black quarterbacks didn't have the best days. We got our guy in Chicago that people are already ripping on. Jordan Love had probably the best Sunday or weekend for the black quarterbacks. I mean, he shocked everybody. And then to have what happened with Aaron also. I know there's some people that said, well, Green Bay fans shouldn't be, happy about what's going on with Aaron. And I'm hoping they're not. But the fact to have your guy that has been maligned for years get 3 touchdowns and a win over the biggest rivalry in NFL history, and then have A-Rod over in New York, go down. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you gotta be careful what you wish for.
Well, Patrick
so bad, and this is gonna be a great thing maybe for Jordan Love, but. Yeah, but we had Lamar didn't really have that great of a game, and like we said, our Chicago quarterback.
I think that's okay, Mike, because you're not going to always play well. And all of
I'm just saying that with that big news about the 14 to 16 black quarterbacks, you still gonna have to say, hey, you know what? We still haven't seen Deshaun really play that well yet, and
Yeah,
who's really
but when you think about the top quarterback, you think about the best quarterback in NFL, you think about the guy in Kansas City.
right, and
Right.
they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
of course, it wasn't really his fault, but
Yeah.
he's still going to take the L.
Take
So
the L.
there's
But
people already saying, well, look, it was more Travis Kelce. Well, we're starting to maybe he's not really that good. Maybe it's just Travis Kelce. So there's still
I don't
questions
think
by the
anybody's
media
taking
that
that.
are doing it. I know it's not true, but I'm saying that how the media is going to portray this. And
Yeah,
I've already heard whispers about it.
But here's the thing for me. Hey, I know some. You could be a black coach and be a bad coach.
Yeah.
You could be a black quarterback and be a bad quarterback. I mean, that's just where it is.
Yeah.
We were talking about Cordell Stewart earlier, and he was in the NFL. He's been much better in today's NFL. And I think about Andre Ware, who I covered in Detroit.
Right.
Andre should have been playing today, not back then. His skill set perfectly fit.
But
so
you know what?
It has to do with who coaches you up.
Exactly. And what team you go to. That's what I'm saying. Because I remember when Ware, he was the first black Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Yeah.
So that was his distinction. Should have been McPherson years earlier, but they gave it to Tim Brown. But you go there where they already have Rodney Peete. And I'm like, first of all, why are you trying to compile all these black quarterbacks on one team? Spread it out so we will have what we have now, 14 to 16 black quarterbacks. But if you throw them all on one team, they're not all going to play. And so that's what it looked like there. It was a log jam in Detroit. And he might be just gone to the worst
situation. They didn't know what they were doing with
That's what I'm saying.
But Mike, to your point, though, when it's three white quarterbacks, they're not all going to play. But here's what happens, and this is something I've stood on for a long time. Yeah. The best athlete never becomes the best coach. Okay, and the best coach was never the best or the GOAT or the top superior athlete. So if you're not going to be in that starting role, but you're going to be on that roster, look at Byron Leftwich. Mm-hmm. Byron was an outstanding quarterback. He was not one of those super quarterbacks, but his coaching acumen is probably better than his quarterbacking acumen. So now that the Ravens have done the experiment for the second time in the NFL, like the Jaguars did, where they had first, second, third string quarterbacks being black, those guys, if you learn all you can, because it'll transition into you maybe being an outstanding coach in the event you don't get a chance to play in the NFL. So, they can't all play, but it's two things. I'm going to learn how to learn the position, learn the game, and I'm still making a check. So,
good point.
I'm going to try this for a second, guys. Let's see if I got it. Did you guys see what I see?
That's him. That's him, man. That's him.
That's Julian Lewis.
Julian Lewis.
From Carrollton High School in Georgia. Is that just outside of Atlanta, I wonder?
That is about right at about 25 to 30 miles west of Atlanta in Carrollton, in Carroll County. Yeah. And let me tell you, a buddy of mine and I went to the game when they opened up the season against Langston Hughes, against Prentice Air Nolan, who is on his way to Ohio State. Air Nolan won the award. Julian finished second, only because probably that Julian team finished 14-1, and Air Nolan's team finished 15-0. They both went to the state, and he lost in the state. But those 4,100 yards, 48 touchdowns, hard to not compare that to 4,000 yards, 55 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions by Air Nolan. So they're throwing that football around. These guys are, and you look at that young man. When we got to the game, I looked at him from the sideline. He's like, he doesn't look that big. And then when you walk up on him, he's about 6'1", and he's thick. He's put on about 25 pounds.
Hey, Mike, do you think the coaching is better now at the high school level, or maybe the concepts of throwing the ball is better at the high school level. When I was in high school, we ran the ball.
Yeah,
That was it.
We ran the ball,
That was
and
it.
then if we threw it, it was just a little.
You know what? That's another thing. And then I got a quick question for Earl before I answer. So Earl, do you think that, of course we're hearing all this nonsense about Caleb's father saying that stay at USC, just in case the team that wants to draft you is not a good one. But so if he does leave next year, do you think that this player would reclassify so he could be at USC to take over for him, or what do you think?
Well, if he graduates early, Mike, is no question. I mean, because you can't stop a kid from graduating from high school early. I mean, we've seen, how many times have we seen kids who are geniuses, and go to college at 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So if he graduates early, if he gets all his credits in and he's done, that will be one thing. But the only fear I have about something like that is physical body maturity.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're 16 years old, man, and you haven't totally grown into your body completely. So that would be one of my concerns. But other than that, poise, knowing the game, arm strength, maturity, I think he's got it all. And if he does leave or graduates early and goes to USC, I would hope that they do the right thing and not try to press him into action in college his first year, because if he gets seriously hurt, man, everybody's going to be like, y'all messed that kid's career up by trying to rush. Because I don't think I'll ever forgive the NFL or the Washington team for rushing RG3 into action after he had been injured to try to win some football games, man. I mean, that's just.
And yeah, that's a good point. And from the looks of it, it looks like Lewis is going to make a lot of cash while he's in college.
Yeah. High school and college. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
I want you to answer that question.
Right.
But before you do, I do want to mention one more thing about Kaepernick. He's 35 years old now, but he will be a young 35 considering.
Right. No wear and tear on his body.
Tear.
Yeah.
But those 7 years is going to be
hard to make up.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead. And then
what I was saying is, though, is like you said, during high school, like my high school, that's one of the reasons why I didn't even want to play after 9th grade was that they kept running the option and wishbone and all that stuff. And I'm like, nobody throws the ball. I'm like, this is horrible. So, but then you'd be envious of like these schools out in California, where I am now, but I'm in the Midwest then. And I'm like, yeah, they throw the ball out there. That's why these quarterbacks. You look at John Elway and all these guys, growing up seeing them a little older than me. And I said, man, that's where I would like to be, because, I wanted to be Lynn Swan. I want to be Lynn Swan. I mean, and so then.
But Mike, Midwest, man, 3 yards in the cloud.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Woody Hayes and all that. But, then I move out here, and the school that was like the creme de la creme out here was De La Salle. Yeah, De La Salle's winning national championships year after year after year. They made a movie about them, about that coach and all that. And now they're kind of down. I mean, that whole gloss is off of there. But they were like producing a lot of great players that, even though they didn't live in Concord, California, they lived in the areas like Oakland and other areas, and they would go there because it's a private school, and they would produce a lot of NFL players or go to definitely major colleges. So it depends on the concept of your area. And for the most part, it's going to be Florida, California, Texas, and then maybe a couple of other southern states like Alabama, Louisiana.
You're going to throw Georgia in there, man, because they are throwing the football in Georgia.
Yes.
They are throwing the football in Georgia. But, Mike, I got two names for you since you're out on the West Coast. I got two names for you. Number one is a guy by the name of Jalen Johnson. He's at Enterprise High out in Redding, California.
Okay, ready.
He's a junior this year. Keep your eye on him. Okay. But then there's a freshman quarterback at Oregon State. He was on our watch list last year. He got a little playing time the first couple of games. His name is Aiden Childs. He's from California. Okay. Keep your eye on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey guys, man, it's such an upbeat conversation talking about all these young quarterbacks on the rise, man. But really, a disappointing story here in the greater Metro Detroit area, over in East Lansing, with the suspension of Mel Tucker, head football coach at Michigan State University, accused of sexually harassment of the lady who does the sexual harassing compliance for the university. And Mel has signed a $95 million contract a couple years ago. He's got about $80 million left on it. He's been suspended by the university. Nobody thinks he's going to walk those sidelines again. Just your thoughts on this whole situation. And Mel Tucker said this was a consensual relationship. You know, the whole phone sex thing we've all learned about. But I think his coaching career at Michigan State, for sure, considering the history there, where you had Larry Nassar, who molested Olympian athletes there, just makes it almost impossible for him to come back to the university. And one other thing about the university, Earl and Mike, Michigan State knew about this whole situation back in December, but didn't say anything about it until USA Today broke the story, which woke everybody up Sunday morning. Earl, start with you. Your thoughts on the situation, and follow up with Mike.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough situation for Coach Tucker, and it's unfortunate that this is what it's come to. When I heard some of the story the other day when they talked about the 80 million, the first thing that struck me was, do y'all just not want to pay this guy? So y'all kind of created something. Y'all found something, and I'm just, that was my gut feelings.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, you owe him. He's got $80 million to him. And maybe somebody like, we ain't paying him no 80 million. So I don't know if that may have something to do with it. It's unfortunate. He's saying that there's no truth to it. It's going to be hard to, get off the hook for the way things are set up, because anytime a woman talks about harassment, it normally goes her way. And, I don't have to say it any differently for this particular situation as to which way it will probably go. I hope this doesn't go that way, and I hope that Coach Tucker's career is not totally destroyed from this. But it will be unfortunate for a guy to have put in the work somewhere else, get a shot here, and all of a sudden something like this comes up. And, I've been around a long time where I've seen it happen in politics, and sometimes it happens in coaching. But interesting enough, there have been some other coaches who have had similar situations, end up landing on their feet. But again, it's different. So I'm hoping that this doesn't work out the way that it's looking for Coach Tucker. I hope that this is all just something that is a bad dream, for the lack of words. But in the event that he does not find some way to get out of this situation, I think his career is going to be pretty much 90% done. I'm not going to say 100%, but 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is that, we keep talking about how our legal system is the greatest in the world, but we always see that all it takes is an accusation and you're either fired, suspended without pay. So I'm trying to figure out, if he's not found guilty of anything as of yet, and you're supposed to be innocent to proven guilty, why do you lose your money? Why do you lose your pay if they haven't said, okay, you're absolutely guilty. Okay, we will wash our hands of you. That contract, that $80 million that you're supposed to have, is null and void because you were found guilty by a court of law and the 12 jurors. Or in Florida, where they only had 6 when they let Zimmerman get away. That's another story. So, but what I'm saying is that that's why it's always questionable about how are we really defining the legal system when we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty? But once again, because there's accusation and of course allegedly an investigation, but why are you stripped of your way of making money if you're not found guilty? If it's an accusation, that's the part that puzzles me, is that you're put into purgatory and basically said you're guilty until we can prove you're innocent.
Innocent. Yeah.
And that's the, and then we look at, we say about him with the $80 million up in the air, and then we got, look what happened to Ime Udoka. Okay, once again, it's supposed to be a consensual situation. Well, nobody wants to hear that. And how dare you ask who the other person was?
Right.
And then he's basically hanging in the balance, embarrassed, basically tarred and feathered. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know what? We're going to let you go. We're going to only suspend you at first and have you hanging out in front of everybody to see, the emperor has no clothes. All that stuff was going on. And now he lands on his feet, though, and with another job. But his reputation has been besmirched horribly.
Yeah.
And Tucker is going to be pretty much, really, I don't know if he's going to have the bounce back ability like Ime just had.
You talk about the justice system. You remember what Richard Pryor said? You go looking for justice, and you
just
find
us. Just us. Yep. And let's not forget Deshaun. Once again, accusations.
Yeah.
Nothing legally. He was never found guilty of anything. But the fact that they've got all these lawsuits and all that, that's enough to just basically miss 2 years of football, and still, have to capitulate about everything and basically, say, hey, you know what? I'm an offender. That's basically what they're making it look like, that he has to admit that he's an offender before anybody's ever satisfied. And how dare Cleveland give you all that money? What's wrong with them?
I'm streaming here, just looking. I was looking up something, and I'll tell you, Earl, your quarterback back has just gone national here. HBCU top 15 HBCU quarterback backs award for week 2. That's great to see, man.
Awesome.
And I'm glad the word is getting out about that. Hey, and Mike mentioned lawsuit. I did want to hit on this situation going on in the National Football League by a black reporter, Jim Trotter, who was suing the NFL and making some
Didn't we have Jim on? Didn't we have Jim on the show?
No, we have not had Jim on the show.
Oh, okay. I thought we had him on. Okay.
And there's some accusations. Jim, who is known as a quality top shelf reporter, and he's putting his whole career on the line to take on the NFL. And one of the quotes comes from the owner of the Buffalo Bills, Pagula, who talked about allegedly saying that black athletes, if they don't like, let me see how it said. Okay. If black athletes don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is. Pagula denies that he said that. But, we'll see.
Did you see the comments that were online about what the Alabama fans said about the players from Texas?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah. I
saw that, Mike?
Yeah, I saw that.
The guys on Texas sideline were dancing.
Projects, go back to the projects.
And some fans were saying, "Go back to the projects." Yeah. I'm like, so, to kind of segue what you're saying about an owner making that kind of comment, it's like, see, you guys, you speak over here one way, and then you'll flip around and speak a different way.
Right.
You want it to cut both ways for you, but you don't want it to cut both ways for everybody else. So when the fans are telling players from Texas to go back to the projects, my thought was, so where do you think a lot of your Alabama players might be coming from? But
Yeah.
they don't cheer for those guys anyway. They only cheer for the colors. They're not cheering for the players. They're
Right.
cheering for the colors and the team. So they don't really see them. They just see their team, the colors, and that. But for an owner, if he didn't say it, fine. But if he did say it, I mean, what do you mean if they don't like it, go back to Africa? This guy is not from Africa. He
Yeah.
never was.
Yeah.
They never are. We're not from Africa. We're Americans. What are you talking about? In that case, go back to Europe then.
Yeah.
I've been just trying to understand why don't the media call out one ex-president as being a second generation immigrant whose grandfather was from Bavaria?
Yeah.
You don't call him out. So why are we always getting called out?
Yeah, and he also has a quote from he alleges that Jerry Jones said
Right.
during
Yep.
the conversation, if blacks feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire.
Yep.
That
Wow.
comes from
That came from Jerry Jones?
allegedly comes from Jerry.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
They both denied it, right?
Allegedly.
So yeah, so their allegations are just water off a duck's back, whereas the other ones get allegations thrown at them, they lose their job, lose their money. That's
Yeah.
Right. So
what I'm saying.
I mean, how does a
So let's say if a black owner had what happened with Jerry. I'm just saying, think about it. You got Robert Kraft got caught up in his stuff. You got Jerry Jones with a picture of him back in the 50s, basically right in the middle of trying to block students from going in there. But of course, he just was there just to see what was happening.
Just curious,
So,
he said.
Right, yeah. But all that stuff is like, and then of course, all the allegations for Trump.
Right.
I mean, sexual assault allegations, and you still get to become president. But these guys lose their football job for similar allegations. So that's what I'm saying, that it's such a double standard. And I think we need to stop just saying, well, he deserves it. You don't even know what happened. So let the courts do it, even though we know it's still going to be slanted.
And
we got to stop having these double standards where one side is like, oh, those people don't know what they're talking about. They're lying. I didn't do any of that. Those are just allegations. And nothing happens. But other people get allegations. Their whole world is wrecked, and we don't even care if they lied or not.
And that's a good point, Mike, because there's a lot of equivocating that goes on when things aren't the same. They want to make one side, well, both of these sides do that. No, that is not to say. I think Earl wanted to try to get something in here.
Well, if Jerry Jones feels that way, I'm just trying to understand, how can he, in good, honest faith, speak to his black players if he says something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you look them in their eye, and after you said something like that, and in the back of their minds they're looking at you like, so if we don't like it here, man, you want us to go back to Africa? You want us to go find? I mean, and then we segue that into a guy who's, I don't know what he told those guys when he was at Auburn, but Tommy Tuberville, oh my God,
Yeah.
So they say things, and unless you got the microphone right there to catch them saying it, it's just an allegation, allegedly, or whatever.
Right.
But if their hearts, if they feel that way, why do you go out your way to get all these players so you can keep making money off these players to put in your pockets? If you don't like these guys, don't why you give Dak $166 million if you don't like Dak? You want Dak to go back to Africa?
Yeah.
But see, once again, that's why when they get so offended when you bring up the plantation mentality, because that's exactly what that is. You just get out there and work for me. I don't want to hear from you. I don't care about your opinion. And then we saw what Jerry felt when he said, "My boys are not going to kneel. My boys will stand." And those same black players said, "Okay, Jerry, you're right. You our boss." So that's what I'm saying, is that when the whole Kaepernick thing was going on, that's when you could have made your voice heard. That's when everybody could have said, you know what? We are getting tired of being the majority of this league, and we have no say so. And we could sit there and watch one of our brothers get treated like that just because he was trying to point out a fact that police are getting away with
Yep.
murdering these black people and getting no type of prosecution. And then when you got the whole Zimmerman thing, who wasn't a cop, but he's cop adjacent. His father supposedly was a judge, and all these connections, wasn't convicted, laughed about shooting Trayvon, selling his gun and making all kind of money. The racists are sending him all kind of GoFundMe stuff. So we sit there and watch this, and then this Kaepernick is trying to highlight this, and we get his own black player saying, "Oh, he wasn't really that good anyway." That's the reason why he's out the league. I don't defend him. So
one of the problems is the NFL Players Association. They
exactly
have not been able to wield the power that say their counterparts in the NBA Players Association. You look at the NBA, and although you still got some foul ownership there,
right?
There is more of a working relationship between player and ownership in the NBA. You get one of the things I like about LeBron, besides he's a tremendous basketball player, this guy is the captain of his own ship.
Absolutely.
And, he is not afraid to take a stance and tell anybody anything. Oh, I'm going to burn your jersey. Okay. Because Nike done already paid me for the jersey.
Right. You can burn it up. Yeah. It's your jersey. You can do whatever you want to do with your clothes. Burn them up. Okay, fine.
Right. They done paid me.
Yeah, I got paid.
Hey, before we go, I do want to hit on one last thing right quick. This hour has just flown past us. Man, I understand it. I understand it, Earl. You're the perfect person to have this conversation with. But man, when I see Toledo beating Texas Southern 71-3, when I see Grambling losing 72-10 to LSU, when I see TSU lose 56-3, what bothers me, I know that there was a time when those schools would have gone toe-to-toe with LSU. When Grambling would have gone toe-to-toe with LSU. When TSU would have gone toe-to-toe with Notre Dame. They want no parts of them now. But today, hey, they'll get the little check and take the little butt kicking. I just don't like it, though.
Well, let me just say this, Ricky. I mean, and this is it's just a part of today's game. And some coaches will tell you they want their football players to have an opportunity to play against that level of competition. It's a double-edged sword. You want to play against that competition, although you may not have the talent pool to play against them. But at the same time, to make that kind of payday helps you in your budget to offset some things because you may not always have the kind of funds coming in. But then when you look at some games where they put a beat down on teams who are comparable to them, when you see schools get beat like maybe not 70-something-3, but then again, we've seen those scores where a powerful team is running up on a less powerful team out of the Big 10 or out of the Big 12 or the Pac-12. The one on the bottom got beat so bad they went and played Michigan. The bottom team in the Pac-12 went and played Michigan, and Michigan ran them off the field. So it works kind of both ways. It's just unfortunate that we are able to compete because we don't have that level of talent. We don't have the facilities at that level. I know a lot of folks keep wanting us to turn some of our schools into FBS schools. I'm not in favor of that from a few perspectives. Number one, money. That's going to always be a factor. We're not going to get the kind of money to improve our programs to do what we need to do. The longevity of it, we might, the consistency. I mean, you could do it for a short period of time, and can you sustain that? And that's the problem. You can't sustain it year in and year out because those schools and the numbers, factor into it too. If you got a school that has 40,000 undergraduate students and I got a school that has 10,000, the numbers are not going to match up in order for that consistency with the money coming in and the people who have the money to give money back, it's never going to match up. It's never going to match up. So I'm okay being a FCS school in football and a D1 and everything else, because D1 and everything else, I tell you what, get our basketball programs at our HBCUs up and get into some of those second and third rounds of the NCAA tournament, and we'll have some money on top of what football, because football has to almost fund everything.
Right.
And Mike probably knows what I'm about to say, because every time we have this conversation, I bring it up. How about the state of Tennessee giving TSU the $500 million that it owes TSU? They have underfunded TSU by $544 million.
Well, you know what? And besides that, and then of course our president now, people are thinking like, why is she resigning? Is it because of that money situation that we've inquired about? All of a sudden now she's going to be stepping down. And she not only is our president, but was the president or the basilisk of the AKAs. So she has some actual power avenues and a lot of ways to get things done. But it's kind of suspicious that she's going to be resigning. But also at the game though, Ricky, and I was sitting next to the great Terrence Moore, right?
Okay.
Moore he was sitting right next to me.
Okay.
And we were talking. He was asking me questions about, our rivals and all that. And he ended up writing a piece where he talked about how TSU really got ripped off for only getting $1 million. That some of the other schools of that size or the smaller PWI schools would get the Notre Dame got almost $2 million. So they almost got double that. And this is what Dion was talking about, how HBCU always seem to get the lower end of this, even though you would think that the universities, they're trying to be generous, would say, well, this school probably could use $2 million instead of maybe Toledo or somebody like that, a smaller school like that, Akron or somebody like that. That's the kind of angle he was going at when he was saying that. And then he talked about, some of the people that TSU played as compared to Notre Dame. And then, of course, I talked about the game and I asked him about the mood of the players. And he said, and I asked him, were they embarrassed? Because they actually were in position to take the lead in the first quarter. Everything went haywire right after that. They couldn't move the ball after they got the turnover on a great hit. That was kind of controversial. And then they got the field goal block. That right there, all the momentum that they possibly had went down the drain. And I think they lost their confidence right at that point. I think they said we have no chance now.
Yeah.
Hey, Ricky, I got a question for you though. I mean, based on what Mike has said. So when other schools get more than what an HBCU gets to play a Notre Dame or Michigan or what, is it a negotiating factor between the athletic directors that causes that gap to be there? Is it because you're not a stronger negotiator, or they've already set in stone that, hey, we're only going to give you this. I don't care what you say. Once again, going back to what these owners say, I don't care what you want. Right. This is what I'm offering you. You can take it or you can leave it. Or is it the fact that it wasn't negotiated? Because now you know that other schools got more than what you got. The next time Notre Dame wants to play that, is that going to be a negotiating portion, or is it just that we aren't strong negotiators when it comes to negotiating these contracts?
I think we don't have that experience because we're not at that level. And I'm sure $1 million to Mickey Allen, the athletic director at TSU, he's probably like, yeah, man, y'all gonna give us $1 million? He didn't know that was chump change. I mean, I'm sure he understands that's chump change for Notre Dame, but I think it's probably the inexperience of HBCUs negotiating at that. HBCU schools negotiating at that level. And you were so right, Mike. Dion pointed that out to those guys last year, man. That y'all getting played at this level. Hey, we got to get out of here. But Earl, I mean, Quarter Five Back, the book. I always tell people about this book.
I appreciate it. I
where
appreciate
they can get it.
Much love.
Let them know, and let them know about the BIP Awards and all that.
Real quick, you can go to quarter5back.com, keep up with what we're doing, our watch list. You can log onto our blogs and see our newsletter. You can order the book via that website. And what we're just doing as a mission, I believe that God Almighty has given me this mission, and I'm taking up with all I got to preserve the legacies and the history of Black quarterbacks who have played this game of American football, especially American college football, for the last 100 plus years. So, show some love to us, write us, send us something, order the book. Just keep up with what we're doing. I appreciate everyone putting out our watch list today. We're trying to make sure we get that out on a regular basis. But we just feel that we have opportunities to write our legacy. One of the things I've said to a couple of friends is, if we don't write our own history in our own books about our own legacies, who will? And because we don't carry those things forward. So I appreciate you, Ricky, for being on our advisory council. I appreciate you, Mike, being on the advisory council, because the more it's spoken about, the more people know about it. And I'm just ecstatic now to see that the guy who finished second is on Sports Illustrated. That just says a lot. That says a lot. So thank everybody for joining us.
And Earl, we definitely want to check in with you on a consistent basis to get updates. Any final thoughts, Mike, before we get out of here?
Well, definitely, just a little segue, since we weren't on last weekend, we got to acknowledge the little young sister, Coco Gauff, for winning the U.S. Open. Absolutely awesome. Especially, like I said, I had a chance to meet her and Naomi last year, and to see her a year later, the U.S. Open champ. I almost say it's my daughter, but it feels like a little goddaughter or something like that. That was just so cool to see.
I think that's the first of many too.
Right. Hopefully so. Hopefully nothing, nothing dramatic, disrupts that. And also, we got to give acknowledgement to WNBA starting their playoffs. So we got to, kind of give, another majority Black league. We got to give them a little kudos and see what happens with that. But other than that, football wise, it's just cool to see Prime Time, because Prime Time is like my age. We're the same class. So when he was at Florida State, I was over at TSU, and I remember saying, this dude right here is pretty good. So then when he was in the draft at 89, I'm like, saying in the back of my mind, this is the draft I dreamed that I was going to be in back in the day, when I wanted to be Lynn Swan. But remember, my guy I grew up with, Jerry Woods, who's been on our show, Jerry was in that draft. So Jerry was from my hometown, got a chance to live my dream to a certain extent to be in that draft with also his teammate, Barry Sanders.
Absolutely.
That was a great draft, 89.
We're going to get out of here, man. For Earl Kitchen, Mike Roberson, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. See you next time.